Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjan Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, we're continuing reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. The Leela chapter 4, verse 173. The previous verse we read, there is not the slightest taint of lust in the gopis' love. The relationship with Krishna is only for the sake of his enjoyment. Now there's a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh dearly beloved, your lotus feet are so soft that we place them gently on our breasts, fearing that your feet will be hurt. Our life rests only in you. Our minds, therefore, are filled with anxiety that your tender feet might be wounded by pebbles as you roam about on the forest path. Mm. This is the deep love that the gopis have towards Krishna. Saying our life rests only in you. Our life, we might say, rests on the prana, breathing process, our body, our material things, our possessions, our children, our wealth, etc., etc. Because if we lose any of these, we almost feel like we are losing our life. But for the gopis, their life rests only in Krishna. There's nothing else which is important for them. And so their minds are filled with anxiety. Our minds are filled with anxiety as well, but of material things. And Gopi and Radharani, their minds are filled with anxiety. Uh, that Krishna's tender feet might be wounded by pebbles as he roams about on the forest path. Krishna's body is described saying that it's as soft as butter. We can't imagine. It's as soft as butter. And so now they're worried, saying that the body is so soft that it will be wounded by pebbles. If somebody is very delicate, even something little, some little scratch, they looks very bad and they suffer like small child. So Krishna's lotus feet is so soft that gopis are feeling you're walking on the forest path without any wear. Mm. Once Yashoda tried to convince Krishna to wear footwear, and he said, "Yeah, if all my cows can wear footwear, I'll also wear footwear." That's his love towards his cows. And so they know that he's not going to wear any footwear, and they're uh, they very much in anxiety that he might keep his foot on some maybe oddly shaped stone or poking stone, sharp stone, and he might just his lotus feet might get hurt. Of course, everything in Vrindavan is conscious. Mm. So there are devotees who have taken the form of pebbles or stones on the road so that they doesn't hurt Krishna's lotus feet. But this is the anxiety of Vrindavan. Mm. About Krishna, everything is about Krishna. The gopis do not care for their own pleasures or pains. All their physical and mental activities are directed toward offering enjoyment to Lord Krishna. This is just inconceivable. Mm. Every action, every thought is for Krishna. There's nothing else. There is no other intent. They do not care for their own pleasures and pains. How many of us can say this? Even little bit. They renounced everything for Krishna. They renounced everything for Krishna. This is their standard of pure love. They have pure attachment to give Krishna pleasure. Hmm. To giving Krishna pleasure is their pure attachment. There is no other, nothing else which they are attached to. They're simply attached to giving Krishna pleasure. Pure attachment, meaning there is no selfishness there. Gopis are not selfish. They're not here for their pleasure. They're not here for their pleasure. Uh, Many times we ask devotees, did you enjoy the kirtan? Did you enjoy the class? Did you enjoy the festival? We're not here to enjoy. Mm, In gopis in their, in every aspect of their existence are simply after Krishna's pleasure. No question of personal pleasure or pain also. They're not bothered. They're not just bothered. And we see a lot of devotees also serving like this. They're so much engrossed in serving Radha and Krishna with love, serving Jagannath with love. They're not really bothered about, did they have breakfast? Did they have lunch? Did they have dinner? Did they take enough rest? Did they do this? Did they do that? They're just simply engrossed. And Krishna is saying, Bhagavatam, oh my beloved gopis, you have renounced social customs, scriptural injunctions, and your relatives for my sake. Gopis have renounced social customs, scriptural injunctions, sarvadharman parityajya, and relatives also. Hmm. What have we renounced for Krishna? We all of us have to reflect on this. Have I renounced anything for Krishna? Yeah, we might say yes, we have renounced. We've renounced onion, garlic, tea, coffee, maybe eating outside because some people still eat outside. Some people even after initiation eat outside. Mm. Yeah, we might have renounced something for Krishna. Mm. Um, by Krishna's mercy, Krishna Jagannath seems to want a temple in our preaching area, Udimau. Um, so some discussions are happening, and you're talking to devotees saying that we'll need money, isn't it? We need Lakshmi to build a temple. Mm. I know of devotees who have Lakshmi. No, it's not like they don't have. And they are saying, yeah, I can give some loan. I just like felt like laughing. Um, Krishna has given you all that money, and you are saying you can give a loan to Krishna. Okay? Mm. Some people don't even want to give that. It's very, it's very easy to read these sentences, right? Yeah, gopis are renounced. Yeah, gopis are renounced. Gopis are exalted. We are not exalted. People, whoever does this, they're exalted, and we don't want to be in the exalted category. Uh, we are not ready to give Krishna what he has given us. Of course, Nobody is expected to give something which is a very, which is key for their livelihood. For example, if somebody depends on this for food, clothing, shelter, yeah, of course, understand, right? Krishna will not even want to trouble such devotees, and because they'll anyway be sincere and they will still give something, whatever is possible from their side. Mm. But there are a lot of people, lot of devotees have a lot of money, but they are worried. They are just worried, saying that this is my future earning, this is my saving. If I give it away, what will happen to me? All kind of anxiety which are unfounded, meaning they're not real at all. And then if we just say that okay, now you can invest your money for some returns, oh, suddenly there'll be line of people. Same people who didn't have money for donation. When we say you can give your money and possess something in return, then people will lie. Unfortunate, because even devotees are not renounced. They are not doing everything for Krishna's pleasure. They're still for their own. Krishna is saying, I disappeared behind you only to increase your concentration upon me. This is when Krishna disappeared from the Rasa Leela. So he's telling, you're not ordinary people, that I'm not playing any fool with you. Uh, I disappeared only to increase your concentration upon me. Since I disappeared for your benefit, you should not be displeased with me. Krishna is, almost like uh, requesting, don't be displeased. I didn't do this to hurt you. I did it for your benefit. The Krishna is personally, he desires the benefit of all his devotees, and yetamam prapadyanti tam stataiva bhajamyam. Based on how much we surrender to Krishna, Krishna will reciprocate. Krishna will reciprocate. But it all hinges on our faith in Krishna. It's a very simple thing. It's all about faith. Lord Krishna has a promise from before to reciprocate with his devotees according to the way they worship him. Same thing. Yetamam prapadyante. In whatever way my devotees surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. That promise has been broken by the worship of the gopis, as Lord Krishna himself admits. That promise was broken. Krishna has been forced to break his promise because of the purity and exalted nature of gopis and Radharani's love. O gopis, I am not able to repay my debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. Krishna himself is saying, your connection with me, meaning your relationship with me, is beyond reproach. People are condemning you. People are calling you Kalankinis, like, you are not, you know, ideal women, you know. So, but your relationship with me is beyond reproach. Nobody can say anything about it. It's so pure. You worship me, cutting off all domestic ties which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. Of course, it's not that everybody, all of us can do this, break family ties, domestic ties, and do. It's not expected to do also. But there are some devotees who do, and Krishna will specially reciprocate with them. Right. And of course, I mean, there are devotees who don't break any domestic ties at the same time are completely dedicated in the service of Krishna. It's the same thing. One some one during Prabhupada's time, one devotee couple. So the husband wanted to take sannyas, and wife also agreed, etc. So they were having a conversation with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada told them, saying that you are doing, both of you together are doing more than what sannyasis can do. So you continue what you're doing. So it's not a standard solution for everybody. But the important thing is this surrender, this submission. Uh, what is the word in English? Yeah, submission. In Hindi we say samarpan, right? Atma nivedanam. So, it's about giving ourselves to Krishna, putting ourselves at the lotus feet of Krishna, and doing whatever it takes, doing whatever it takes. This is the standard of devotional service, quality of devotional service, which will take us back home, back to God. Mm. Of course, it's not that these things cannot happen, appear immediately, instantly. Some devotees might be very new in Krishna consciousness. Some of you might hear this and you might feel like difficult to digest. But for those who have been in Krishna consciousness for some time, and we've been repeatedly hearing these statements from Srila Prabhupada, and we have to understand saying that this is what is expected. Full, offering ourselves at the lotus feet. And that's why I keep saying Diksha is a very, very important stage in the life of a devotee. Mm. Either a devotee can become serious after it, or nothing changes. Or maybe, yeah, I've even seen it becoming worse in the life of few devotees. This is very, very important, important. Which is why somebody came to me yesterday asking about Guru. I said, have you heard? Don't blindly decide. Mm. Go here. Maharaj 1, Maharaj 2, Maharaj 3, whoever they are. I have no interest in you hearing or taking initiation from my spiritual master because I want you to dedicate your life, whoever it is. If you are ready to dedicate your life, go. We will give whatever recommendation. As long as you are sincere, you are doing whatever Prabhupada is expecting all of us to do. We are not here to hold back any initiation recommendations or anything. We are happy. Our temple president also supports, and we will give. We don't have any problem. But we want you to surrender to your Guru. Otherwise, there's no point. Otherwise, it's just a joke. It's become like a joke today. I got initiated, I got this name, this, but nothing changed in my life. It's the same thing. What was yesterday before initiation, after initiation is the same. Lots of no use. No use taking initiation like that. Because anyway, we know that we don't really need initiation for chanting Hare Krishna. We can chant Hare Krishna. We can make progress without initiation also. Initiation is for those who are really serious about spiritual life, meaning they're saying, okay, I'm ready to surrender my life to Krishna. Because Diksha Kale Bhakta Kare Atma Samarpan. At the time of Diksha, the devotee has to surrender himself to the lotus feet of Guru, thereby surrendering himself to the lotus feet of Krishna. This is expected. Otherwise, not required. Now, see, very, very important, difficult to understand part. Now, whatever affection we see, the gopis show for their own bodies. Know it for certain to be only for the sake of Lord Krishna. To For their own bodies, meaning uh, the gopis dress themselves as beautifully as possible. They're already the most beautiful women in the creation. Mm. And then they dress themselves so beautifully. Right, and all the gopis come together and dress Radharani so beautifully. But they're doing all that not for their own sake. They're looking at the mirror and feeling happy about how they look. We also do that, isn't it? But the what we do is for our own pleasure. But what the gopis are doing are only for Krishna's pleasure. So it's like, we say the action of non-devotees and devotees may seem similar. Non-devotees also look at themselves in a mirror. Devotees also look at themselves in a mirror. Hmm. But there's a difference between devotees and pure devotees. Devotees looking at the mirror and pure devotees looking at the mirror also there's a difference. So whatever they do, their whole personal decoration, attention that they give to their own personal self, personal bodies, dressing, blah blah, whatever it is, it's simply for Krishna's pleasure. Gopis exactly know what is going to please Krishna. Exactly. So they do exactly that. Sometimes it's like some people are like feel offensive when certain type of perfumes. And it's like that. I mean, gopis know exactly, okay, this thing is going to please Krishna. And they do exactly that. Whether they like it or not is not a consideration at all. because they know their whole existence uh, is for Krishna's pleasure. And sometimes when we are hearing these aspects of the Krishna Leela, is when, because of our, you know, deep material conditioning, bodily conditioning, when there is discussion about these things, we tend to take it in a perverted way. For example, there are statements here in the purport which I'm reading. The gopis dress themselves as beautifully as possible just to make Krishna happy by seeing them. They had no ulterior desires. They dedicated their bodies and everything they possessed to the service of Sri Krishna, taking it for granted that their bodies were meant for his enjoyment. So when we read things like this, that their bodies was meant for their enjoyment, we think about material body and material enjoyment. But there is no difference between gopis' soul or gopis' bodies or gopis' mind. It's all spiritual, and it's all offered for Krishna's service. But we are perverted, we are contaminated. When we hear things like, they offer their bodies for Krishna's enjoyment, we think in a perverted manner. That is why these topics are not for public discussion. I mean, these topics, as in tattva, is absolutely required. But rasa, for example, there are so many esoteric pastimes of Radha and Krishna, of gopis, and we can't digest these things. So we should understand. Okay, I'm not qualified to hear these things. Uh, so first, let me read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Let me understand who the gopis are. Let me understand who Radharani is. Let me get purified by this Shravanam. Let me come out of bodily conception of life. Then I will hear those pastimes. That is why there are certain books of our acharyas which we should. I mean, they might be readily available in the bookstores, but we should never read them until we are above bodily conception, which means that we should be in the liberated state. Only then we should read certain things. For example, Jayadev Goswami's Gita Govind, not should not be touched at all. I know many times, sometimes devotees sing Gita Govind prayers. I mean, without knowing the meaning, yeah, we can sing. If we know the meaning, we will run away from it. Because we are super fallen state. We should not do all this. Sometimes we see now on festival days and all, some very esoteric songs are sung. Of course, one thing is because the meaning is not discussed, so it's okay. But Prabhupada did not want us to sing any bhajan without knowing the meaning. What is the point? It's for raga. So we have to be very careful. We have to draw lines. What, where we can tread, where we cannot tread. We should be very clear. Gopis think, I have offered this body to Lord Krishna. He is its owner, and it brings him enjoyment. Now I will explain this in a slightly different way, which is very easy to understand. When we say Diksha Kale Bhakta Kare Atma Samarpan, the body of the disciple is offered to the Guru. So same thing we should be saying at time of initiation. I have offered this body to my spiritual master. He is its owner, and in it brings him enjoyment. So how will we then engage our body in activities that is going to give pleasure to Guru? And so Guru might expect us to do preaching. He might expect us to do book distribution. He might expect us to do this, do that, whatever it is. And it's the same thing gopis are doing to Krishna. So when we do it for our Guru, irrespective whether I'm a male or a female, it seems like, yeah, this is what bhakti is, this is what Diksha is. But when gopis are thinking like that with respect to Krishna, we think perverted. Why? Because gopis and Krishna are young boys and girls and this and that and all that. So this is all perverted. We have to simply understand that it is that devotion. It is what is expected. The whole spiritual path is about this surrender to Guru, to authorities. Many times that's why we have to take care of our body sufficiently because it has to be engaged. It is the property of the Guru and it has to be engaged in his service. So we have to keep the body in a fit condition. We should try. We should try. At the end of the day, it's not in our hands, but we should try. Again, beware. Krishna finds joy in seeing and touching this body. It is for this reason that they cleanse and decorate their bodies. Again, so when we read these statements, we have to be very, very clear. It's just like this, right? It's just whatever pleases Krishna. That's all. Whatever pleases Guru. Mm. Oh, Arjuna, there are no greater receptacles of deep love for me than the gopis. who cleanse and decorate their bodies because they consider them mine. And this is from Adi Purana. Krishna is telling Arjuna. I'm telling they're doing all that because they consider that their body is mine. So they are cleansing it, they're decorating it, they're keeping it in good condition because they think it's mine. They don't think it's theirs. They don't think it's for their enjoyment. They think it's mine. And so they're keeping it in a good condition. That's all. There's another wonderful feature of the emotion of the gopis. So this now goes one more level of inconceivability. There's another wonderful feature of the emotion of the gopis. Its power is beyond the comprehension of the intelligence. Okay, so don't use your intelligence to try to understand it because we can't understand. Okay, concentrate on these verses. When the gopis see Lord Krishna, they derive unbounded bliss, although they have no desire for such pleasure. Hmm, they have no desire for such pleasure. Because their only intention is Krishna's pleasure. So they're not wanting pleasure for themselves, but they derive unbounded bliss. Derive, please note this word, derive, meaning it is coming. They're just experiencing unbounded bliss, even though they did not have any intention. They didn't want to. They wanted to just give Krishna pleasure. But suddenly there is bliss that they're unbounded bliss, not ordinary bliss, unbounded, meaning no limit. The gopis taste a pleasure 10 million times greater than the pleasure Krishna derives from seeing them. So by their whatever their dressing, their seva, etc., by looking at them, etc., Krishna is experiencing some pleasure. But that Krishna experience pleasure, that results in gopis experiencing 10 million times greater pleasure, not 10 times, 10 million times greater pleasure than what Krishna experienced. By what? By whatever they did for the pleasure of Krishna. So they came for some service for the pleasure of Krishna. Krishna saw them. Krishna derived pleasure 10. They derived 10 million times 10 pleasure. And they had no intention to derive this pleasure. This is the beauty of pure devotional service. The beauty of pure devotional service is that devotee should not try to derive pleasure about from bhakti, activities of bhakti. They should do it for the pleasure of Krishna. And when Krishna is actually pleased, the devotees experience pleasure. The devotees experience pleasure. So the wonderful characteristics of gopis are beyond imagination. The gopis have no inclination for their own enjoyment, and yet their joy increases. That is indeed a contradiction. This is the central theme of Gaudiya Vaishnava Bhakti. We do everything for the pleasure, purely for the pleasure of Krishna. That's all. Whatever comes from it is prasada. And that prasada is 10 million times greater than what Krishna experiences. Just imagine how merciful Krishna is. Just imagine how much is the surrender submission of those devotees who serve Krishna in this way. That is our goal. That should be our goal. And in the course of our bhakti, we get stuck in, petty things, interactions with other devotees, this confusion, that misunderstanding. Yes, so many 150 things. But when these things are in our head, right, saying that why am I doing bhakti? I want to get to that exalted state. Then we give up all these petty, useless, worthless things because that's going to prevent us from reaching Krishna, from reaching these high levels of bhakti. Pettiness, material, material conception of life, material way of thinking. These things are not going to help us elevate ourselves. Mm. And of course, I mean material attachment, gold, property, possessions. I mean these though we're going to remain far away. And so if at all we get inspired by these verses, we get attracted by these verses, and we feel I also want to serve Krishna that way, then automatically our material hankerings, attachments slacken. Mm. That is the reason we need to read. We need to hear from devotees. We need to hear from Prabhupada. We need to hear from those devotees who have that desire, that intense, uh, laulyam, greed. agreed to achieve this most exalted position of bhakti, of love, which is so selfless, which is so selfless that Krishna, see, just imagine this position of gopis and Radha is so exalted that most of the other sampradayas can't even talk about it. Can't even. I mean, they don't even understand the tattva behind it to even talk about it. So they just avoid the topic. They just avoid the topic. So they simply worship Krishna. Because if Radha is there, then like hundred and I mean, so complicated to understand Radha tattva. So they just simply worship Krishna. But we know that Krishna is not happy alone. Mm. I was telling our Ulima last Sunday class saying that if you take a flower to Krishna, Krishna will look at Radha, who's on his left side, saying that what should I do? Should I take it or not? So without her, we cannot reach Krishna at all. Of course, we cannot. Every sampradaya has their own tattva process, etc. But we cannot reach Radha Krishna for sure. We can reach Krishna when Krishna is alone. But we should understand even when Krishna is alone with his gopas, during the 10:30 to 12:30 something, Krishna is there with his gopas every day. But he's always trying to escape. His mind is filled with Radharani. So this is the state. So yeah, he might be there. He might be herding the cows. He might be playing pranks. He might be, it might seem like he's enjoying, but he's not. But he's not. So this is the deep and why Krishna is attracted towards Radharani, why Krishna is attracted to gopis, because of their pure love, nothing else. What is Krishna going to be attracted by some beauty? I mean, he's the source of all beauty. Huh? But he's attracted by that beauty which is dedicated for his pleasure. Because the beauty of Radharani, the beauty of gopis are dedicated for his pleasure that attracts him, not the beauty itself. Hmm. So there is a contradiction here. They don't want bliss, but they are getting unbounded bliss. Hmm. So what is the solution? The joy of the gopis lies in the joy of. So they derive 10 million times bliss because Krishna is deriving bliss. That's all. If Krishna did not derive bliss from their presentation of bhakti, then they also wouldn't have uh, derived bliss. So it's directly connected to the joy of Krishna, but it is 10 million times multiplied. Hmm. So now he's explaining one more level deeper how this interaction happens between Krishna and gopis. When Lord Krishna sees the gopis, his joy increases. Krishna is seeing the gopis, his joy increases. Why his joy is increasing? Because they have come for his pleasure. They are dressed for his pleasure. They have come to do seva for his pleasure. So when he sees the pure devotion of the gopis, hmm, his joy increases. Because this is the idea of bhakti that we offer with love and affection. Krishna becomes happy. Now what happens now here? His sweetness also increases. Hmm. So he saw the gopis, he felt happy, and his sweetness also increased. Hmm. Now, gopis are thinking, okay, Krishna saw us. Krishna experienced pleasure. By just thinking that way, their fullness, their beauty increases. So now there is competition, and it is all because everything is spiritual, everything is conscious. It's all happening parallelly, right? Krishna is seeing gopis, Krishna is feeling happy, Krishna's sweetness increases. Now gopis are on the other side. They are seeing that Krishna saw us, and Krishna is now happy. So their happiness increases, their beauty increases. Now Krishna is seeing that their beauty is increasing. What will happen to him? His joy further increases, his sweetness further increases. Hmm. The gopis are seeing Krishna's joy, Krishna's sweetness further increasing. They are looking at it. Their beauty increases. So it's like there is continuous competition, endless competition between Krishna and gopis' love. Hmm. So who is going to accept defeat? Nobody. No one will acknowledge defeat. Neither the gopis will acknowledge defeat, nor Krishna will acknowledge. This is the pure love that we have to hanker for. This is the standard of love. Mm. Just imagine something that we do which infinitely keeps on increasing Krishna's pleasure. Infinitely. What quality of service is that? So we like we've discussed before, Krishna derives pleasure from the beauty and good qualities of the gopis. Then this is the most important thing. Mm, mm. We find that the joy of the gopis nourishes the joy of Lord Krishna. So there is no fault of lust here. So it's not lust, it's pure love. Just pure love. I worship Lord Keshava. Coming back from the forest of Raja, he is worshipped by the gopis who mount the roofs of their palaces and meet him on the path with 100 manners of dancing glances and gentle smiles. Mm. So it's inconceivable. So their love is inconceivable. Another symptom of gopis' love that shows it to be without a trace of lust. So yeah, so this sweetness, happiness, mm, beauty, all of them are parallelly increasing, 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 and giving Krishna more and more happiness. So whenever there is unselfish love, that is its style. This happens. Unselfish love. And when the pleasure of love interferes with the service of the devotees become angry. Meaning, by this interaction, there is pleasure, and because the pleasure, if the devotees can't do their service, so there are examples given. For example, like their eyelids are blinking, and they are very upset. Gopis are very upset with the creator. Then Daruka, there's an example. His limbs became stunned, and he was fanning the Lord. So his service got obstructed, and he became very upset because the pleasure that he experienced stunned him. So he's not able to actually fan the Lord. Mm. Radharani in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, lotus-eyed Radharani powerfully condemned the ecstatic love that caused a flow of tears that hindered her sight of Govinda. So it is like tears flowing from her eyes because of the happiness, and she's not able to see Krishna. And she's condemning that love, saying that what kind of a love? Why are there tears? I want to see Krishna. Mm. So pure devotees never forsake loving service of Krishna to aspire for their own pleasure. This is the crux of our sampradaya, and the gopis and Radharani are the epitome, the pinnacle of this mood of pure pleasure, of just giving pure pleasure to Krishna, irrespective of what the world thinks. Mm. Radharani gopis worried. What is the world talking? They're talking so many bad things about us. They don't care. They simply don't care. Is this giving Krishna happiness? Okay, fine, done. Mm. Just as celestial waters of the Ganges flow unobstructed into the ocean. So when my devotees simply hear of me, their minds come to me, who reside in the hearts of all. Krishna resides in the hearts of all. But when devotees hear about Krishna, their mind comes to him, and their mind runs towards him. Mm, mm, And we should really feel miserable that we are stuck here in this miserable material world, still having material attachments, no attachment, no deep attachment to Krishna. Mm. And what is our hope? What is our hope? We're going to just simply rot here, continue to rot here. Multiple more lifetimes we're going to come here, and we should feel depressed. We should feel unhappy. Uh, Something has to wake us up. Something has to wake us up. Of course, I mean, we continue our responsibilities. All that is fine. But the most important thing is your attachment to Krishna. Many times devotees get confused between these two. Should I give up my work responsibility? No. In fact, Krishna says the more you should feel more separation from Krishna. So, for example, when I used to work, I used to feel like, I have office today. Today is Radhastami. No, 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 I don't want to go to office. And I used to just call and tell my manager saying that I'm not well today. right, or whatever. It's like that, like we have to feel that I want to be in the midst of devotees. I want to be hearing. I want to be singing. I want to be, serving. That mood has to be there. And that separation, the more we are not being able to be in touch with devotees. We are not able to do devotional service. We should feel bad. We should, it should really, it should create that saying that, no, 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 I want to go. I want to go. This is feeling of separation. And it is actually feeling of separation with Krishna. It might manifest initially as feeling of separation from devotees, from kirtan, from some service, etc. But it's actually our separation from Krishna. We are feeling the pangs of separation, and that is required. So if we are held, of course, it doesn't mean that we willingly just put ourselves in, some work elsewhere and try to keep feeling separation from Krishna. No, we have to do certain duties sometimes. Mm. But imagine a time when you don't have to do any of these duties and you can full time just happily engage in the service of Krishna. And we should desire for that. We should absolutely desire for that. Whether it's male or female, Purusha or Sri, doesn't matter. We should all desire to do full-time service to Krishna. Why not? Again, these questions, in ISKCON, we are not allowed to ask these questions now, because it's too much of surrender. It's too much of surrender. It will be like, you know, mm, what is that? Can't digest. Indigest. We will. So, but this is the standard. I told some time back, I think, I saw one photo of Prabhupada showing his finger, saying that Krishna wants you. And when I saw that photo first time, I thought like Prabhupada is telling me. And it was just that desire, saying that no, why not? Why shouldn't I be able to dedicate my life to Krishna? Hmm? I've wasted so many, Prabhupada said, we have wasted so many lives for ourselves. Why not one life for Krishna? And Krishna is promising Yoga Kshemam Vahamyam. So we can go. But for that, we should be in the association with devotees who have that. Who have that. We don't want to be working. Wow. Why should we be working? As long as I'm getting food and shelter and protection, that's enough. How much ever I need to do, I will do. And we should feel that, sometime, like I said before also, 10, 15 years back, I desired. And Krishna so mercifully granted it, right? And it's just his causeless mercy. It's not any qualification from my side, right? But it was just that desire, saying that no, I want to serve Krishna. I want to I want to make progress. I want to go. I want to understand all these topics. I want to go towards Krishna and Radha. I want to serve them. This desire has to be there. Hmm. So when we read these things, we think that, oh, devotees simply hear of Krishna and their minds race towards Krishna. These are the characteristics of transcendental loving service. This is what we have to learn. It is causeless and it cannot be obstructed in any way. Aitukiya pratihata. Okay, I think I'll stop here because this chapter still goes on. But I think we understood the mm, crux, and we are discussing about gopis, and that same mood is takes, it's like 10x, 100x in Radharani. Mm, so that way we can understand how her whole existence is dedicated for the aradhana, for the service of Krishna. Shri Radha Ashtami Maha Mahotsav ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Jai Krishna. Anybody has any comments? Please make.